Angelica, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you too.
Thank you. It was my day to dress up because I usually, Zed doesn't dress this way, so I was like, might as well. We're in New York, come on, we gotta look good.
Well, hey.
Sorry, I'm really loud. The Mexican in me, I can't control it.
So what really drew the most to Zed?
Her sarcasm. I love her sarcasm. I love that she doesn't take crap from anybody, especially John. And I like that she's, she's a little sneaky, and she's rough, and she's not afraid to get her hands dirty. I love that. It's like empowering women. I love it.
So HellBlazer was a very long-running series, and Constantine is still, he's in the New 52, he has his own series. When you got the part of Zed, did you need to go, how much did you go read to catch up on who she is?
Well, they gave me volumes of HellBlazer, and it was, here you go, this is Zed.
Yeah.
And I stayed in, instead of having a Saturday night out with my friends and stuff, I stayed in with the bad boys of HellBlazer, and it knocked my socks off. And that's where I got the sarcasm, that's where I started understanding her. It's like, oh, I see you. Yeah.
What can you tell us about how Zed enters the picture in the TV series? Are you able to tell us anything about that?
Well, the new trailer came out yesterday, a little teaser, and we see her drawing, and that has to do, she's lost in her head. Zed is lost, and she literally just crashes into the world of John Constantine, and it's this of like whatever's going on in your head becomes reality, and it's that realization of you're not crazy. That's Zed in the first moment we meet her.
Yeah, we caught the pilot screening there on Thursday, and it's kind of quite a creepy ending, and there's you're drawing away, and there's all those iconic pictures of John Constantine. There seems to be a psychic connection. How much of a connection is there, and how does that play out, or
it
how does your...
It becomes even more, it gets crazy, it gets messed up, it gets to the point where she opens, oh my god, I wish I could tell you. It's more than what we see. That's just the tip of the iceberg. That it becomes a whole nother level for Zed. Each episode gets bigger.
So obviously you've just started. How long have you been filming? And without spoiling too much, obviously, do you have like a favorite moment of your time with Zed yet?
So we've been filming since July.
Okay.
So we've been going for a while. We're so eager for October 24th to come. Favorite moment. I mean, it's a moment between John and me in the couch in the mill house. And it's our first moment where we're actually real with each other, where he's not sarcastic, I'm not being a bitch. I'm not rough, I have no walls around me, and I am what I am. That's my favorite moment, because it's the real Zed, not this whole facade of who she puts out there so she can hide.
Yeah.
Who do you think is her biggest ally?
John Constantine. He's the teacher. He is, to me, he's, as Zed, he's my teacher. He's the one that explains to me and leads me into this world. And I'm Zed is like a very eager learner. She's like, yes, I want to learn more and more. I want to get in there. So definitely, it's John.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I've seen you all week.
Yes.
Yes.
So did you do any Comic-Con stuff?
Have I done?
Did you get to go and buy your comics and?
Yeah. No, I just flew in today. I flew in, came straight here, and then they fly me back out, and I'll go and put on a trench coat and run around and smoke some cigarettes.
Okay, so since you started with that, obviously, like, playing John Constantine is a great job, but as a character, what drew you to even want to do this part?
The fact that he's tormented, he's guilt-ridden, he's someone with all this dark shit going on, but at the same time he's someone who can flick the bird to the devil. You know what I mean? And do it with a smile and a wink. It's like to be able to play those two things. It's just like it's awesome. You know, it's so three-dimensional and multifaceted. That it's like, you know, I still feel like I'm just still peeling back, you know, the layers of him and getting under his skin. And we're on episode 9 now, going on to episode 10, and it's getting deeper and deeper as we go. And what's great about a part like this is you just feel like you can just keep on going and going and going. And, you know, there's not going to be any end to it. Like the only bottom will be hell, probably.
How would you prefer to be a petty dabbler of the dark arts? And I suppose, even more importantly, how do you prepare as a Welshman to be a Scouser?
Interesting question. So, first of all, like reading the comics, you know, going to the source material, kind of gleaning as much of that as possible, and then reading like a bunch of the Grimoriums as well, you know, the magic books, and then watching a bunch of movies like The Exorcist, and trying not to freak myself out too much. So a bunch of that. And then in terms of John being from Liverpool and, you know, being a Scouser, I think that is something that early on I wanted to kind of really kind of get in touch with the DNA of the character and go for the essence of him, rather than kind of just really playing a voice and an accent. And I think that, you know, one of my best friends is from Liverpool, and, you know, I talked to him about it, and, you know, a bunch of the accent. I think it's something that I wanted to really just get the essence of him. So to bring in something, to do an accent that was accessible, but wasn't me, wasn't completely me in Welsh, you know, but then, you know, wasn't a hard Scouse, you know, that was kind of a northern accent, really, you know, something that's going to be accessible but still has that kind of working class quality to it. But that kind of came about from me wanting to kind of find who the character was and the essence was, and go for that rather than just kind of playing an accent.
That's great, thanks.
What was your scare?
His relationship with Zed?
Oh, it's feisty. You know, it's really cool. It's like she's someone who doesn't take any of his shit, who gets in his face, you know. They get on each other's nerves. They have this interesting sexual chemistry between them. They need each other. They want to push each other away. It's a really interesting dynamic. And then I think that they really start to grow together as well, you know. And where we're at now is they're really in an interesting place. And it's a really kind of interesting chemistry they've got. It's fun to play.
What was the scariest moment in your life?
In my life? Probably since I've been doing this, man, and like reading comics before going to bed, and then, like, you know, being in my apartment in Atlanta on my own, you know, in a strange place on my own, you know, hearing knocks in this strange apartment building, waking up in the middle of the night after a day shoot, like shitting myself. Yeah, that's probably whilst I've done this, because you're thinking about it all the time, you know, and then you know, you read a comic. I'm trying to keep reading the comics, even though, you know, we're working kind of 12, 15 hours a day. You know, it's like you try to like keep the line to the source material, to the DNA, so that it's always kind of there in the background. And then you do that before you go to sleep, and then, you know, you think of demons and stuff.
So when you do like comic adaptations, fans can be very critical, and they will judge you on every little thing you do. Does that ever kind of come into your mind when you're doing the role? Like, this is such an iconic character.
Yeah, well, you know, I think it is. It's a lot of pressure, isn't it? It's, you know, it's the fans that are the reason that I'm here, the reason these comics are loved so much, and you wanna do it justice, you know. But I think at the same time you have to kind of make it your own. You have to kind of be ballsy enough to go, okay, well, this is what I'm doing, you know, and hope that they like it, and hope that, you know, my interpretation of it, and kind of, you know, the fact that I really love the comics myself, and I'm trying to kind of keep a line to that all the time, you know, then you hope that comes across. But you can't really think about it too much, I think, because it can get in the way, you know. But you know, it's there, you know, you want people to love something that they've spent a lot of time and effort reading, you know, something that they love.
Let me get one quick picture, if I may. Thank you.
That's great. Cheers.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
It's nice to meet you.
Hit me.
Figuratively.
I was getting ready to come across
Well,
the table.
I'll ask you, how you've done a lot of TV, you've done a lot of movies. Contrast the experience.
Someone once said that movies are like oil painting and TV is like watercolor. The turnover time in TV is a lot faster. Movies, you have a lot more time to perfect everything. TV, it's sometimes by the time you're into your third draft, it's time to go. So on one hand, that time constraint is harder, but also sometimes I think it's better to not overthink everything and go with your first instincts. But television also, you get a chance to revisit characters and have characters grow and change over the course of the season. That's already happened in our first season. We've had a couple actors come in and really blow us away, and we thought, oh, they're amazing, let's bring them back 4 or 5 episodes later.
So in looking at the original version of the pilot to what viewers will actually see, what do you think is the biggest change in terms of where the show is going now versus where the show might have been going from when they saw the trailer back in May at the up?
Well, when we first started adapting Constantine, I think there was some concern with the audience that we needed a character that was the audience's point of view who wasn't part of this world. So we created a character that was not part of the comic books named Liv to embody that point of view. We made the pilot, and Lucy, who played her, did a great job, but as we started breaking the subsequent stories, we thought it would be much more interesting and challenging if someone were more of that world. And having seen the pilot, we were able to convince NBC that maybe we should go in that direction, so we selected a character named Zed, who's also from the comic books. And she has a really interesting backstory herself. She's not a blank slate. She's got a lot of mysteries, and she was able to go toe-to-toe more with John, and it just made for some more interesting dynamics. It's not... I think with John and Liv, John was sort of the cut-up, and Liv was the straight man or straight woman, and with Zed, they flip-flop those roles, and it's just more interesting.
You've worked on a lot of different comic book adaptations. When you approached doing Constantine compared to some of the more superhero properties, was there a difference in how you needed to approach the characters themselves, or did it kind of just evolve the same way?
Sure. I mean, John doesn't have any superpowers. He's not a billionaire. He's not an alien from another planet. Mm-hmm. He's just a regular bloke. Yeah. He doesn't have a costume. He doesn't have a secret identity. If someone arrests him and throws him in jail, he's in trouble, and that does happen in the first season. He can't just swoop in and have someone expunge his record. It's kind of interesting after having written Batman and Superman to write someone who doesn't have access to those powers or that infinite amount of wealth to help him out. Also, he's not a hero. I mean, he's a jerk.
Yeah.
And it's really refreshing to write a character that's a jerk.
Though you're focused... I'm sorry.
No. We saw the helmet of Dr. Fate in the pilot screening there on Thursday. And how far is Constantine going to delve into the mythology that's being established within the comics?
Well, should we continue on long enough, the plan is that we kind of have access to the broader occult DC universe. So even within the first 12 episodes, you'll see 2 or 3 characters show up that aren't part of HellBlazer proper, that are part of the larger DC universe. And the plan is that eventually someone will show up on John's doorstep coming to collect that helmet.
Well, actually, then my question is a perfect follow-up, because you're dealing with a supernatural version of the universe in a number of projects, so it's a very different approach than taking maybe a more straightforward superhero kind of based in science fiction but still the real world. How is it to envision things in that way?
It's a really refreshing change of pace. It's nice to be doing something that's scary. It's nice to be doing something that's a bit more fun. Funny. I don't want to say more fun. Batman and Superman were a tremendous amount of fun. I'm a huge fan of John's roots. He was created in the 80s with a real punk sensibility, and we've actually licensed a lot of punk songs in the show. I'm proud to say, I don't know if this is a first or not, but we licensed a Sex Pistols song for episode 3, so that's pretty fun to have John Constantine listening to the Sex Pistols. think he listens to Buzzcocks.
Yeah, what,
episode 3
that's
as
good to hear
well.
such bands. Gang of
Yeah.
Four?
Not yet, but hopefully we'll get there. Maybe some Cramps and Dead Kennedys.
When there's such a rich pool of characters that you can pull from, how do you decide which ones you're going to bring into the story and when is a good time?
It's story based, so we don't say, okay, we're going to do a story about Dr. Occult. And I'm not saying we have done a story about Dr. Occult per se. We talk about where it would be good for the story to go or come up with an idea for a story, and then we think, well, if there's an appropriate character in the DC universe that fits with, then it makes sort of, sense, in a, organic way to bring that character in. And that's how Jib Corrigan entered the show as a recurring character, because we had a need for a homicide detective, and we thought, okay, let's bring in Corrigan.
And see, HellBlazer's such a long-running series. There's so much there's so many storylines to choose from, so many different runs. Do you have a particular favorite storyline from HellBlazer?
I have a lot of favorite storylines, and I will say, even though the first season loosely tracks American Gothic, we've already adapted within the first 12 episodes a couple of other singular issues. We're trying to do a version of one of the Delano issues early on right now, and we did a really cool version of the Hunger Demon issue. That's actually one of our better episodes, I think, so far.
Do you have a...
Last question.
Yeah.
How soon do we learn more about Chaz?
9 or 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We'll turn over some cards relating to him.
Do you have a hell of a comic book art collection?
A hell of a comic book.
Bad choice of words, but you get my point. You must have
I've
collected
got some
great...
choice pages. I've got
You
some cool
got some
artwork.
good shit, I bet.
Yeah, I've got some good stuff.
Who's your favorite artist?
Oh Lord. Contemporary, or old school Kirby.
Yeah,
Can't beat Kirby.
And contemporary.
I really like Steve Root a lot.
Oh, very good